These are the plaintiffs, Thomas O'Rourke and Josephine Peng. Thomas says they paid the defendant money for their wedding venue, and they had to cancel due to the pandemic, and now she won't refund them. The whole darn country was shut down, and this thief can't be allowed to get away with stealing their $2,700. That's why they're suing. This is the defendant, Gail Thackeray. She says she's happy to have the plaintiffs reschedule, just like most people who planned on having a wedding did in 2020. It's not her fault they didn't get married, so why should she have to pay? She's accused of bumming out a bride.
All parties, please raise your right hands.
Welcome back to the People's Court. Next case on the docket, the plaintiffs are suing the defendant because she won't give them a refund on a ranch they rented for their wedding. But the defendant says they canceled the wedding and are free to reschedule anytime. It's the case of bumming out a bride.
Thank you, Douglas.
You're welcome.
All right, Mr. O'Rourke and Ms. Peng, you are suing the defendant's business, Indian Springs Ranch, represented here by Ms. Thackeray. You're the owner?
Yes, I am.
Okay. For your deposit back of $2,700 because you, like so many countless individuals, had planned your nuptials during the time the world had something else coming. So talk to me. Tell me what happened.
Well, so yeah, we had planned a wedding to celebrate with all our family. We got engaged in September 2019, and we wanted to plan a wedding fairly quickly, partially, well, actually mostly because I wanted my grandmother to be there at the wedding, and was 98 years old. So we found Gail's Ranch on Pier Space. We wanted to have a big enough venue for all of our friends and family from Michigan, from Canada, from New York, from Washington, D.C., from San Francisco. So we had a lot of people coming in.
The wedding was, how many people were going to come to the wedding?
It was supposed to be 150 max.
150. Okay. So go on.
So yeah, we had a very tight budget and of a 10,000 actually. So we found Gail's Ranch on Pier Space, and Tommy and her had communicated through Pier Space, and she encouraged us to vote because she was willing to give us a better price if we paid in full. So we did. We paid the full $2,700. And then as we got closer to the event,
was that the full price of the venue? Like that was everything? That wasn't just a deposit?
Yeah, so honestly, calling it a deposit is kind of misleading when in actuality, the $2,700 was the entire amount. And we're realizing now that we've looked back on the emails that there's a lot of words put in our mouths, which we did not intend to speak.
Meaning you got sucked in and called it a deposit too? But all right, but in any event, that's the money that went from you to them in order to have the wedding. And then of course, come March 19th, the state of California shut down the possibility of having a 150-person wedding, correct? You guys went into lockdown, as it were, on the 19th. Your wedding was supposed to be on what day?
April 4th.
My anniversary is April 3rd. So what did you guys do? Did you get married or did you not get married?
We did end up getting married because our officiant was only ordained for that one day. And we ended up driving out to this old like tsunami evacuation road in Malibu. And we drove out with just the two of us and our officiant. And we were out like in the middle of nowhere and it was just us. And it ended up being like, I don't think we could have planned something that. Yeah, it was really lovely.
It was really sweet. I mean,
that's lovely. That's lovely. You should have brought Grandma, but that was lovely. And is your grandmother still with us, honey? Ms. Peng, is your grandmother still with us?
No, she passed on April 28th.
So were it not for COVID, you would have made it. All right. So Ms. Thackeray, what kind of venue is this? Do you have pictures of the venue?
Well, I didn't come prepared with pictures, but it's a ranch. It's all outdoors. And so it was actually originally my home, and we did some weddings, and then my home actually burned down. And so we created more of a wedding space, and we've been doing quite a lot of weddings. And so back in about November of 2019, Tommy came to me, looked around, and was on a tight budget. Also wanted some things fixing up on the ranch. And we were just fixing up to do better weddings. And so I made a deal with him that I'd give him half price. I mean, our normal price for a day is still pretty inexpensive, but we charge $5,000 or $6,000 for a day. And they rent the ranch and then they do their own wedding. So they have to, bring in the catering or do all those things. And so I agreed that if he paid in full and it was non-refundable, that I would give them a really good deal of $2,700. We did fix up all the things he asked. We got ready for the wedding. And then in late February, early March, Tommy was in communication with my assistant, Cindy, and said, with the COVID, we're having problems with our relatives being able to travel, being able to get in. We're not sure what we're going to do about the wedding at this point. It was kind of up in the air. As a lot of other brides were having problems with family being able to come in. So they said we may have to cancel. March 12th, Tommy wrote me an email saying, yes, it looks like we're definitely going to cancel. And at that point, I looked at the contract. It did say that it was non-refundable. But I thought the fair thing to do was to offer him a partial refund, even though I thought that the contract was quite clear that it said the $2,700, because it was such a good deal, was a non-refundable deal. So on March 12th,
let's talk about that. Let's talk about the contract. Hold on one second. What town is the ranch in?
It's in Sylmar, California.
Okay, so I have it here on the web. So this is the view. It's very pretty.
Thank you. Now,
I can see
what I should point out is, and I did mention this to Tommy, we do actually have a licensed registered church at that same property. And so, firstly, because we rent the ranch and they do their wedding, we didn't have to actually cancel anybody. People would cancel on us because they were having problems. Well, right now, we're actually
if I rent your weddings. No, I understand what you're saying, that you're still giving them a ranch. But let's look at your contract. Hold on one moment, and I want to see. Does your contract mention how many people? Yeah, you see, you should take out of your contract that clause. Hopefully there's never another pandemic in our lifetimes, but you've got a clause that says number of guests. The rental fee is based on the maximum number of persons entering the property. What you're saying now is a beautiful thing. Hey, they just rent the ranch. That's how your contract should read if you're not providing anything else. But unfortunately for you, it doesn't read that way. You have a contract where she's allowed to have a 150-person wedding, and she can't. It's not your fault that she can't. I understand your position, but you know who else's fault it's not? Their fault. It's also not their fault. So what have we got? We've got your contract that specifically says it's 150 people and nothing about force majeure or anything like that. Says the deposit is non-refundable.
Section 11 says it's the renter's responsibility to find out if the property is...
No, but there's no problem with that. That's not the issue we have. We don't have... if she needs a permit, she's supposed to get a permit for whatever it is she's trying to do there. But that's not our issue. Our issue is a very simple one. There's a contract. A contract is a meeting of the minds. Each side gives up something. You give up the use of the ranch that day for a 150-person wedding. They give up $2,700. You sign the contract. They did their part. They gave you the $2,700, but you were not able to do your part.
Okay, well,
that is not their breach.
We do actually also have a registered church at that property. Now,
this is the first time I've ever heard of this, by the way.
I don't know why that's coming up. Why does the church come up? Why does that have anything to do with anything?
Right now, you are allowed to have up to 200 people in an outdoor church wedding.
April 4th, you couldn't do that. The issue is April 4th on their wedding day. So no, that's not going to change the outcome here. These cases are horrible. I have so many of these cases now. And it's not like they all go one way. Every case is very fact specific. It's based on the contract that I'm looking at. Some people actually put in there the word pandemic. I don't know why. We haven't had a pandemic since the Spanish flu. It's crazy. And then some people put in force majeure, and they write it. Force majeure is a concept of the law, which means that through some act of God, through something that can't be controlled. But they write it in a way that it could possibly cover the pandemic. And I hope that you were able to reschedule most of your events. Were you able to reschedule most of them?
Well, actually, all of them. Some of them, they've already had their weddings, but everybody put off 6 months or a year, and that seemed to be kind of the standard in the industry.
Right, and it's not, no, that's not, there's no such thing as a standard in the industry in this concept. This is a contracts case, so it's either you can provide what you contracted to do, which is a 150-person wedding on April 4th, or you cannot, so you're going to lose this case. But I am very happy that most of your folks decided to go ahead and have the wedding anyway and reschedule so that you didn't find yourself, having to return a bunch of payments. I'm glad to hear that. No matter what, you're still out because those are dates you could have given to another wedding and made more money. So I get it. Believe me, I get it. But in this case, on these specific facts, these folks are entitled to their money back. And I am ordering you to repay the $2,700 verdict for the plaintiffs.
Ms. Thackeray, are you surprised at this decision?
I am kind of surprised because, the whole country has been shut down and that it would go more of what the standard is of the country. But, I am glad that they're actually getting something. I feel bad that their wedding got ruined. And, so I am glad that they are actually walking away today and feeling good about it because, in the scheme of things, people's weddings being put off is really kind of small compared to what we all had to deal with COVID. So I'm okay with that, with the outcome.
Well, you're very generous indeed. Good for you. What a delightful way to feel. All right. Well, let me talk to the plaintiffs now. You mentioned you ruined their wedding. Obviously, it sounded to me like you had a pretty nice wedding on the beach in Malibu. Is that where you were?
Well, not quite the beach, but yeah, we drove out on this old tsunami evacuation road. So it was kind of like buried deep in the hills somewhere.
Yeah, it was actually quite nice.
Well, good for you. All right. Well, congratulations. I hope married life works out for you really well. Congratulations.
Me too.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Good. I'm sure you do. That's great. Okay. Let's see what the judges have to say now.
What lovely people, all of them.
A cute couple.
They're an adorable couple, and Miss Thackeray couldn't have been nicer. She couldn't have been nicer, bending over backwards, trying to accommodate different dates. Right. But not everybody has to pick a different date. You're not forced to pick a different date.
And a wedding is not the kind of thing you can just, with the flick of your hand, say, hey, we'll put it off for 6 months, or we'll put it off for a year.
See, that's what I would do. We got to take back our lives from this ridiculous year.
I got to tell you, though, I feel a special kinship with Tom here because he also put his wedding on the weekend of the Final Four in NCAA men's basketball. So I'm sure he gets a lot of heat from his friends about that.
Every guy at our wedding had a little radio with a wire going into their ear. They looked like FBI agents that were actually listening to the Final Four.
Something.
That was ridiculous.
So Ray wants to know this. Hey, Harvey, is it a criminal act to commit perjury in a civil case? The answer is yes, that anybody who lies under oath commits a crime of perjury. Now, there is a lot of perjury in a lot of courtrooms, and they're not going to prosecute all of them because they'd be prosecuting half the people. So the egregious ones usually are the ones that get prosecuted.